Hello, everybody. My name is Brad Lewis, and I'm with Premier Marketing. I want to take a minute to welcome you to today's call. We're very excited for today's call to re-engage with an old partner and one of our core carriers with Transamerica. They have a large amount of updates that they've done to their final expense products, and we wanted to make sure that we shared those with you today. We do have a question section on the GoToWebinar here. So if you have a question along the way, make sure you enter it into the box and we'll get those questions answered at the end of the call. Also, I wanted to take a minute to introduce the team at Premier. So your marketers that are here at Premier and ready to take your calls when you have more questions about this Transamerica product are Rick Stoliker, Tom Otto, Nate Dowd, and Yanni Laborde. So they're standing by to help you re-engage with Transamerica. And at this time, I want to introduce Steve Weber. He's the National Sales Manager and our main point of contact at Transamerica that's been helpful with this product. And I guess if you want to call it a relaunch per se, but I want to turn the call over to Steve, and he's going to cover all the exciting changes and things that are happening at Transamerica.
Awesome. Thank you, Brad. Guys, thank you for jumping on this call, giving us a chance to give you an update. Good morning to most of you. Good afternoon to some. As Brad said, I'm Steve Weber. I'm National Sales Manager of Brokerage here at Transamerica, and we've got a great update. I'm excited about all the things that we're doing. It's so much more than just our lower rates. It's really the culmination of all the changes that we're making, changes from our underwriting to our technology team, to our experience team. And the result is hopefully something that you're going to say, you're really going to feel our commitment. So I like to start off a presentation with my camera on, but I'm going to turn it off because I find it distracting. I do not look like you see me. I am much younger and thinner than this camera is showing. Let me turn this off real quick and I'll keep going, guys. You know, we'll take about 20 minutes and then we'll do a little Q&A session too. So let me make sure my slides are advancing. Sometimes they get a little bit locked up. There we go. And let me hide this panel real quick. Okay, much better. So we're going to cover a bunch of different things, guys. We're going to talk about our commitment to you and your clients, some of the enhancements and changes that we've made in underwriting and technology and application and billing enhancements, our new rates, some flexibility for your clients. And then for those of you that like to do your own marketing, your own social media marketing, or even email campaigns, we've got some great resources that we're going to walk through. And of course, we'll end with our trip, our qualification trip. I'm going to go over a lot. Do know that we're going to follow up with you afterwards. We'll make sure you get all of this material, all of the new brochures, the new assets, the marketing pieces. We'll email you everything. You will be able to hold your phone up and scan right now during this presentation some of these materials we're about to review. Okay, so our commitment starts with our new CEO. I've been with Transamerica for a long time. I think I'm in my 23rd year at Transamerica. I started as a wholesaler. I've been in divisional. I've been national. I've had variable annuity responsibility and mutual funds for about 6 years. I've been asked to help lead some of our life insurance distribution. And in the time that I've been here, I have never seen this much focus or this much urgency to become a better insurance company, to become a top tier provider in term, final expense, and IUL. So Lard Fries is our new CEO, who's over all of Transamerica and Aegon. As a matter of fact, we have a new president and CEO of Transamerica. Some of you may know Will Fuller, who's been president of annuities over at Lincoln. He just joined this month. And there are so many good things happening. You're going to see some of the changes now, but also, anytime we invite you for an update, keep joining, because in the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to hear a lot more from Trans. Our goal, as you go through this presentation, hopefully you'll realize our goal is to become your final expense carrier of choice. But really, to understand, to become your carrier of choice, first we have to understand, how do you choose a carrier, right? How do you choose what product you're going to recommend? I'm always curious when I talk to an agent and they talk about, they had a great week. And I wrote 3 Transamericas. I wrote a Mutual of Omaha. Maybe I wrote a couple Amicables or Americos. And I'm always curious, like what's your trigger? Like, how do you choose which final expense company and product that you're recommending? Well, after a lot of these conversations, I really think it comes down to four things. And it has to start with your client and your client's health. Your main goal, your first goal, is to make sure you're doing everything possible to get that client day one coverage, get them immediate protection. Submit it where you need to, quite frankly. If you can't get it approved with immediate coverage here, shop it around, do what you can. That's why you're the field underwriter, right? You know the products that are best for your clients. And hopefully, and I'll go into this in just a minute, I think we have an advantage here. The second thing has got to be give your clients the best rates possible. And I'll tell you why this is so important. I mean, if you think of your last 5 policies you've sold, they may have been developed from your warm market, but there's a very good chance they were developed from leads that you purchased. And I know one thing for sure. Anybody that fills out one lead form asking for information always fills out another. And chances are those clients that you most recently wrote are getting phone calls from other agents right now. And that policy that you just put in place, that client's answering the phone and saying, hey, I'm good. I'm taken care of. Right? I've already got coverage. I've got this great guy named Brad. He put me in this product and it's fantastic. And you know what a good agent is going to say? A good agent's going to say, that's fantastic. That's fabulous. That's exactly why I'm calling. You see, I'm appointed by the state of California. I'm the local field underwriter, and I've been assigned your file by the home office. My job is to make sure that you have exactly what you think you have, the best protection at the best rate possible. I'm going to be in your neighborhood on Thursday. It'll just take half an hour. How's 10 a.m.? Right? So what's a good agent going to do? They're still going to push for that appointment. And if you don't have immediate coverage, and if that other agent can find it, that policy's gone. And sometimes, if you don't have the best rates possible, that policy is also in play. The next 3 and 4 points are probably a little bit less universal, right? I think ease of doing business is absolutely critical. That's something that Transamerica is really working hard on, is becoming easier for you to do business, easier for your client to do business. And then finally, commissions. I'll touch on commissions in just a minute, but we all know you work hard and commissions are important. So let's go through some of the changes. Before we talk about what just happened in the last week, let's talk about the last couple of months. One of the big changes that starts with our commitment is this new coverage and support model. There was a time where every one of you, even though you're all part of even though you might be part of one agency or one IMO, you could have had 17 different people supporting you. So we changed to a more traditional coverage model that's based upon really your GA and being part of Premier. So one of the first things I want you to do, and I'm going to ask you to write things down once in a while. The first thing you should write down is that phone number on the top right, that 866. Every one of our internal wholesalers is trained on final expense. They're compensated, right? They're paid on final expense for the whole country. And so you can call, when you call that 800 number, any one of these internal wholesalers can help you. And they're empowered to help you. And they should be able to run illustrations or send you literature and sometimes escalate a case if you're having trouble. But more than just a sales desk, you have a team that's committed to you. Actually, Steve Bauslag, I think you're on. Why don't you put your camera on for just a minute? You don't even have to say much, but in case people want to see you. So the RVP, the regional vice president that runs the team that's dedicated to everybody on this call, is Steve Bauslag. Steve is a great RVP, a great wholesaler. You can see his phone number is right there. Then you have 3 internal wholesalers dedicated to you. So whether you write down the sales desk number, maybe jot down a name and the direct phone number of Steve, of Dylan, of Andrew, because you have people that you can turn to. And it's so important. We know when you call new business and you're just calling blind, you're just calling an 800 number, it can be difficult. You have people just like Steve here who are dedicated to help you drive and write more business and escalate where necessary. Let's talk about something else we made. We've made a bunch of different changes. First of all, our age restrictions are gone, so we write to age 85. Final expense writes to age 85. One of the reasons that's important is commissions. We're one of the only carriers that does not reduce commission at older ages. So your upfront commission is the same, whether you're 15 or 84. you're going to have the same upfront commission, and that's pretty unique. We've made a bunch of changes behind the scenes too. So listen, I know for a while, it's terrible, right? We're Transamerica. I've heard a nickname a couple times, and I'm sure you might guess what it is. Trans Amendment. How terrible is that? But it was probably pretty accurate. There was a time when we had to fix things, when we had to go back to your client, we were asking for client signatures way too much. And we know that when we ask for a client signature, often that policy doesn't get placed in force. So we've changed from amendments to endorsements. The difference is when we have to fix something or we need a clarification or maybe a little bit more information, when we occasionally ask for information, we don't need your client signature anymore, which means that policy gets placed and forced, commissions can get paid, and right now the net result in the last couple months is much higher placement ratios. Another thing we've changed that's behind the scenes is our underwriting. We've changed the data sources that we've used in order to make that fast decision, right? Everybody's pulling information from the sky, from the cloud, and we're looking at motor vehicle and prescription drugs, and we've suppressed some of the data because we're getting poor results, which means the net result is more preferreds and more standards are being issued and less graded and less declines. We've changed the EAP, right? The EAP, of course, is working 100% of the time. It's much shorter. It has an instant decision email. So as soon as you hit submit, you're within seconds, you're getting an email. Sometimes that email says approved as approved, or approved as applied for. And sometimes it says, approved other than applied, but you're getting instant feedback right now. And I'm going to talk about some other enhancements too that are coming. We've relaunched a quick quote tool. I'll have you write that down. And for agents that are newly appointed, we have a really good onboarding agent campaign. I think it's a series of 9 different emails that train and give you kind of onboarding to Transamerica Final Expense. One thing we just launched last week are our new rates for Final Expense, and they are really, really strong. We lowered 100% of the cells, so every single cell got cheaper, whether it's graded or smoker or preferred or standard. They all got cheaper. You can see Easy Solution, our biggest rate drop was about 22%. On immediate coverage, it was 17%, but the results are pretty strong. And I want to walk through these in just a second. 1,200 cells got cheaper. But where we're kind of targeting, where we're trying to win your business, where do you think of Transamerica? And it's probably for preferred non-smoker, right? Our preferred non-smoker rates, ages 50 to 70, are industry leading. And I'll give you some examples here. So what's good about your healthiest clients? Well, one thing, they're the ones that have the easiest, right? They're getting immediate approval. So give them one of the best names from your client's point of view. Give them one of the best names in the industry. Give them immediate approval, and give them some of the industry's leading rates. So we're going to look at some examples. And by the way, I realize that the difference between number 1 and number 2 sometimes is just dollars or even pennies. But sometimes the difference between 1 and 5 or 1 and 6 can be pretty substantial. And some clients are really going to want you to maximize their coverage or at least minimize their annual premiums. So 55-year-old, you can see we're pretty darn competitive. Same thing, 65-year-old, 15 grand, we're just as competitive. And whether that was 5 grand or 25 grand, it would be the same. Like, we'd still be number 1. If you look at women, it's surprising me when I finally found this out. I think over 60% of our policies are actually female. I would have thought it'd be a little closer, a little more equal, 50-50. But once again, the difference between 1 and 2 can just be pennies. But between 1 and 5 and 1 and 6 can be pretty substantial across all ages. So these are all live. I don't know why I still have the transition dates here. They're all live right now, whether it's paper or whether it's EAP, those new rates are live. We also, here's the second thing you should write down, that first bullet point. Write down transamerica.com/quote-FE. This is just our quick quoter. You don't need a password. You don't need a login. You can save it on your phone or your iPad or your computer and just run for yourself to see what our rates look like. Pretty easy. Our where we win. This is a little cheat sheet that kind of points out some of the differences with our product. And you can see a couple things right off the bat that our issue ages, we have more liberal issue ages, or at least for younger ages, we can go all the way down to 0 and up to 85. Our minimums are pretty flexible at $1,000. I think we have an advantage with our maximum, right? Depending upon age, you can go up to $50,000. And this next one, this risk class options, I think is really important. We were the first final expense carrier in the industry to offer 2 classes. Now, what that means is why it's an advantage is twofold. It really goes to those first 2 bullet points, that for your healthiest clients, we're going to be able to give them the best rates in the industry because they can qualify preferred. They can get an immediate approval, and they can get, the great name of Transamerica. But the advantage of having a second class, having standard, means that we can be a little more liberal with our underwriting when it comes to standard. And there's definitely some people that we're going to be able to offer immediate coverage, where some of the other carriers that only have 1 class are going to have to push to graded. And you probably know those different things better than I do. Let's go down to the bottom. It's the convenience of Social Security and Direct Express. This is something we do really well. We're kind of known for it, but you're going to like the options I'm going to go into in just a minute. So let's talk about underwriting for a minute. Here's another little calculator you might want to write down. It's that rx.mpremcalc.com. And this is just our prescription drug check. And it tells you. So what you can see an example here, right? You're taking lisinopril. Well, what's it for? Why are you taking it? Is it for heart failure? Well, then chances are it's going to be declined. Maybe at an older age, it's graded. But what if you're taking it for a heart attack, or you're taking it after heart surgery? You can see that, heck, if it was over 2 years ago, you can still get preferred. By the way, over 70% of our policies are issued at preferred non-smoker, meaning we're not just giving you rates where no one qualifies, right? We're giving you industry-leading rates where most of our sales occur at preferred non-smoker classes. So let's look at a quick underwriting example. Mary Meet Jones, she's 65, looking for 20 grand, has some issues, health issues. She's taking lisinopril, she's taking metformin, she's taking Lipitor, and guess what? We still got her approved as preferred non-smoker with some really strong monthly rates. By the way, monthly versus annual, right? The modal factors make a big difference. When we first did our premium study, when you ran it annually, sometimes we were number 3 or 4, to be honest. But we have a very liberal modal factor when you're converting an annual premium to monthly. So make sure you're running your illustrations or your quotes monthly. Virtually no one is paying final expense bills annually anyway. Here's another example, maybe a little bit harder health history. Has earlier onset diabetes, has high blood pressure, but also has COPD. Now, for a lot of carriers, this might be pushed over to graded. We're able to get it issued at standard and even with a nursing home rider. Let's talk about some other enhancements. So I'm going fast. Listen, if you have questions, I'll get to those when I wrap up, so you can write your questions at any time. But let's talk about something else. A lot of people have said these next 2 things I'm going to go over are bigger than the rate change. And it has to do with a new paper app. Now, our new paper app launches on April 17th. It is much, much shorter. Over 50 different fields and questions have been removed, or they've been made optional. For example, I've got 2 boys. I love them both equally, I suppose. No, I've got 2 boys. I know their birth dates. I do not know their social security numbers. And so we've made changes like that. Like, you don't need a social if you know their birth date. Now, the new paper app's not approved everywhere. You can see some important states like California, the Dakotas and New York and Florida. It's still the current app. But here's another change a lot of people like. And this one, I think we have to be the only carrier in the industry that's doing this. So we also have changed the payment authorization form. It's just one form, no matter how you're making payment. And here's the real nice enhancement. Starting April 17th, clients can continue to pay, with their bank draft. They continue to do Social Security or Direct Express, but now we're also adding in Visa and MasterCard for both initial and recurring payments, whether it's a debit or a credit card, and we're still annualizing. So I want to drive that home, because a lot of people will come back and say, wait a minute, are you really doing that? So yes, Visa, MasterCard, debit or credit, initial payment or ongoing recurring payments. And we still, well, depending upon how you're set up, right? If you are set up as such, we still annualize or advance those commissions. And a lot of people are excited about those options. It just adds flexibility. Now, this isn't a change, but I want to remind everybody of this part. We take privacy and security very seriously at Transamerica. We're a giant company with almost $1 trillion under management. I think last year or 2 years ago, the last number I had, we paid out $59 billion in claims and benefits. So great, big, strong company that's often targeted. So we do take privacy and security seriously, and we don't even write down. If you're doing a paper app, we don't even take your client's credit card number. We ask them to tokenize it. Now, if you haven't done this before, some people think it's kind of a pain. If you present it the right way, you don't even have to give me your credit card. Just on your own phone, put this in, credit card token.transamerica.com. Just play with it yourself. Credit card token.transamerica.com. You put in your credit. You don't even need your PIN, your expiration, your 3 or 4 digit code. You just put in your 16 numbers, and it gives you a assigned different 16 numbers. So it's pretty straightforward and works amazingly well. All right, a couple of rules. The paper apps, listen, today's paper app is going to work through the 30th. The new shorter paper app will also start on the 17th. So they can overlap for a little bit, but maybe follow up if you go to all of our forums will be updated right before the 17th when we go live. Let me wrap up with a couple other ideas, some building business resources. I love this marketing page. When we follow up with an email, make sure you click on it. It has a lot of customizable, pre-approved marketing pieces, from prospecting letters to a custom email to social media posts. Let me just show you one. You can't tell, but this is actually an email, and it's perfect. It leverages the Transamerica name. It has an embedded video on Final Expense. It has a worksheet, and you can customize it with your name and your email and your phone. So make sure you download that. This other one looks pretty good. It's actually some social media posts, and it's slowly. I love technology here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is another marketing piece, and what it has is you can download different images and the text. So if you're on Facebook, for example, right, you can use those images, run a campaign, maybe put up a different image, a different post. It comes with the verbiage. By the way, to scan me, if you have a phone or an iPad, hold it up to the screen. Sometimes it works depending upon the size of your screen, but you can instantly download all of these assets and brochures that we're talking about. I'll end and I'll leave it on the screen in just a minute. But knowing if it doesn't work, we are also going to follow up with Brad via email for all attendees to get this. I got to talk about our trip before we wrap up and move to Q&A. We put on a really nice trip each year. Our next year's trip for this year's qualification is in Healdsburg. Healdsburg is like the new hotspot right outside of Napa. So if you love beautiful country, if you love good wine and restaurants, this is going to be a great trip. It's pretty easy it's pretty reasonable qualifications at $75,000 in premium in 5 cases. And this hotel, you can read those disclosures real quick. This hotel is just gorgeous. I'm pretty fortunate. It's about a 35-minute drive for me. I live about 25 minutes north of the Golden Gate Bridge out in San Francisco. So I'm kind of on the edge of wine country anyway, but I cannot wait to enjoy this nice property. I hope to see all of you there. Let me move to Q&A in just 1 second. So I'm going to leave this page up here for just a minute in case you have a phone, your iPad, or even your computer, and you want to try to scan these QR codes. If it doesn't work, like I said, don't worry, we'll follow up with everything. let me open this panel and take a look and see. I can't see if we have any messages. So Brad, why don't you help me right now? It doesn't look like I have chat.
Yeah, no problem, Steve. Absolutely. Actually, there is a couple questions here, but I want to encourage anybody on the call, if you have any questions, now is the time. So go ahead and put those into the question section of the GoToMeeting here. So we will be, or are recording this presentation, so we'll be able to share it with everybody that's on this call today as well. And Steve, you did a great job. I mean, you know, I can hear the excitement in your voice with all the changes with Transamerica. We're certainly excited here at Premier as well, and it's been nice to re-engage and get things going again with Transamerica. So I see one other question here on the screen right now. Is the iGo e-app available in New York?
Oh man, you guys ask me the toughest questions. You know, I really try not to answer questions about New York. It's so hard. It's so hard to give it's so easy to give the wrong information about New York. So I don't know. That's going to be one we have to follow up on.
No problem. We can do that. Yeah, Michael asked that question, so we can certainly get back to you on that as well. So
certainly the product is approved in New York. So it's just a matter of what are the other nuances and differences. And I think probably the sales desk would be the best place to have someone dig deep for you.
Yeah, and Enrique had a quick question about the appointment process. So he's appointed to sell life, wanted to know if final expenses is available to him as well. Now, you guys made some recent changes with from a carrier perspective to put everything together. So I don't know if you want to touch on that, Steve, at all, or.
I'm not sure what you mean to put everything together, but if you're approved for life at Trans, then you absolutely are approved for final expense.
Yeah, everything actually came together on one comp schedule now, so everything's all on one. We used to be that we had two different compensation schedules, even if you're appointed for both products. But yeah, everything's ready to go. If you sell life, you're good to sell final expense. So.
For sure.
I don't see any other questions at this time, so we can go ahead and I'll just wrap it up a little, Steve, and I'll ask you if you have any other comments as well. But.
Yeah, let me wrap up with this, Brad. You know, we've had a great long-term relationship and partnership, and work with Premier. We're trying to be the partner that you want us to be, to have the right products, the right solutions, make it easier to do business, get you paid, and get that business placed. So I think we're taking steps in the right direction. Right now, we're taking, you know, little steps and little steps. I tell you what, 6 months to maybe 12 months from now, we're going to take another huge leap forward in this final expense space. So hopefully you wrote down some things, the quick quote tool, even the prescription drug check, and most importantly, the phone numbers. If you want literature, call right away, follow up. If you want me to, or Steve Bausblad, to do another presentation like this, maybe you have a team that you run and you want to do a presentation, please let us know. That's exactly what we're here for. Brad, sure appreciate you in this opportunity. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. We appreciate you joining us today. And on behalf of Premier, and more importantly, the people that you work with every day, which would be Yanni, Rick, Tom, and Nate, we all want to thank you for being on today's call. Please reach out to us. We're here to help and answer any questions that you have as well. Thanks, everybody, for being on the call.